Hello to everyone and welcome on the channel. The idea here is to give you some very useful tools that can be uh, very useful in your day-to-day life as a business analyst or as a consultant. So the first tool that I believe is fundamental for every analyst is the Vlookup function. So let's try to understand how this function in a very easy and simple way. So as you can see, I have already opened an Excel file with a dataset. You see that on the bottom of the Excel file we have basically two sheets. The first one, Vlookup, is where we are going to use our function, and the second one, sales orders, is basically the dataset where we are trying to retrieve the data we are looking for. So let's go directly to the dataset. Here in the dataset you can see that basically we have seven columns, and the idea of the Vlookup function is basically to obtain the information that is staying in a different column. So let's say that for example we are trying to retrieve all the information that are related to this order data. So for example, the region, the rep responsible, the item, the units, the unit cost, and the total in this particular date. So let's copy our data in the first sheet, in the Vlookup sheet. Let's paste it here, and now let's try to retrieve this information: region, rep, item, units, unit cost, and total from the second sheet. So we can start creating our Vlookup function by pressing the symbol plus or equal is the same. Then we can look for our function Vlookup and start creating it by opening the first parenthesis, and as you can see the Vlookup is asking for our lookup value, so the value that we are looking for in the second sheet, and the value basically is this one, so B3. Then we have the first item of our function. Then we have to indicate the table array, so basically where are we looking for this data, this information in our dataset. So going back to the dataset, you see that the table array basically is all the table we are interested in. So basically not just the column where basically the first item is based, but also all the possible information we are trying to retrieve. So this is our all array, and I have selected it. Now as you can see, Excel already identify the table format, so that's enough. We can then shift to the third item by inserting a comma, and as you can see the Vlookup function in this case is asking for the index number. What does it mean? Basically is asking for where is staying the information we are trying to retrieve. So the idea is that the Vlookup is always starting from the first column of our table array. So it's fundamental that the information basically we are looking for basically is staying in the first column of our table. So the data in that case, because as we have seen, basically we are actually trying to find the region in this order date. Okay, so the order date must stay in the first column of our table array. So now that we know how the function is reasoning, we have to indicate the index number, or rather where is staying the information corresponding to this order date in the table array in terms of column number. And in Excel, when we have a table array and we are applying the Vlookup function, the reasoning is that the first column is the first one basically, so we start counting in this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So in that case, if we are trying to extract the region information, we need to indicate the second column. Okay, so basically now by creating this formula, we are extracting the region information corresponding to the order data that we have here, so 11, 17, 22. Now the last thing that we are missing in our function, as you can see I insert another comma, is basically the match that we are looking for. Usually, and in I would say 90% of the cases, you have to indicate a true to indicate an exact match, or you can also just insert a 0. That is what I do because it's easier. And then I close the parentheses, and basically I've created my Vlookup function. So it's very easy to apply the Vlookup function once you have understood all the implications and all its characteristics. So basically, here the first item is the basically the information we are looking in a specific table. Then we have to indicate the table, and then where is staying in terms of number of columns the item corresponding to the first one. Okay, and then finally let's insert almost in all the cases a 0, and we have just created the formula. What if we want to extract the rep or the item or the units, the unit cost or the total? Well, in that case it's very simple because the formula is already created, so we have just to copy it, easy in that way. The only thing that is changing, as you can imagine, is the number of the column, because region was in the second column while the rep was in the third one of the table, the item was in the fourth, so we just put a 4, the units 5, 5th and so on. Okay, so in this way we have a formula that we can just replicate also to extract all the other information. What else? Let's complete the formula just for the sake of purpose. So now we have seen basically how to create a Vlookup function in a very easy way. One of the main limitations of the Vlookup is basically that, as I told you, the first item, so the order date in our case, must stay always in the first column of the table array. So you see that, for example, if the order date wasn't in the first column but it was here, basically finding, for example, the region corresponding to this information would have been very difficult, and we couldn't have used the Vlookup function. We should have changed, for example, the position of the column in a way that it was basically in the first one of the table array. Okay, otherwise we should have changed the formula basically. In fact, that's why I believe that the index match is the most powerful function that we could have used, and that I suggest to use, but that probably we can deep dive in a different video. So I hope it was useful for you, and if you have any follow-up, any question, just ask me, and subscribe to the channel, because I will provide some very useful tips for your life as a business analyst or as a consultant, and to make your work very easy.